She gave birth alone at midnight. But that one text shocked everyone. You won't believe it. It was a night like no other, shrouded in a thick blanket of fog that smothered the small town of Blackwood. The wind howled and rattled the windows, but inside that cramped apartment, a different storm was brewing. In the waning light of her phone, Amanda clenched her jaw, sweat beading on her forehead as waves of pain tore through her. Alone and desperate, she had no choice but to bring new life into the world without anyone by her side. The clock ticked away, the sound echoing louder with each passing second. Merging with her muffled cries, her breath came in quick gasps. Shadows danced around her, silent witnesses to a miracle that felt more like a horror film. Every contraction split her open, a raw surge of pain that pulled the air from her lungs. But just outside, the world was blissfully unaware of the life-changing event unfolding behind those thin walls. And amidst her agony, a sudden beep broke through the chaos, a notification. She peered through the haze of pain, heart racing as she grabbed the phone. It was a text from an unknown number. "You're about to find out the truth. It's not what you think." Confusion clouded her mind. Who? What truth? Were they talking about her? The room spun, blurring reality and desperation. In that moment, the unthinkable happened. Just as she felt the tiny body slip from her, the buzzer of her phone rang again, its electric buzz seeming deafening against the backdrop of her struggle. The mystery of that message hung heavy in the air, even more lifelike than the baby cradled in her arms. Was it connected? Did her past come knocking at the worst possible moment? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Back in that dimly lit room, Amanda cradled the squirming bundle, the baby's cries piercing through her shock. The text loomed over her like a storm waiting to break. What truth could be so pressing that it invaded this sacred moment? The air held its breath as she waited, pulse racing, for clarity amidst the chaos. Outside the window, the fog thickened. With it came the chilling thought: was she truly alone in this? Who else knew her secrets? And as she held her child close, a sense of foreboding slithered into her thoughts. The night was just beginning, and the answers she so desperately sought were waiting, hiding just beyond the reach of her trembling fingers. The baby wailed, a stark reminder of life against the ominous backdrop of a night that felt endless. Amanda felt the weight of each cry reverberate inside her chest, but her mind was still spiraling around the message that had flashed across her screen. "You're about to find out the truth. It's not what you think." With every heartbeat, a shadow loomed larger, her past clawing its way into her present like a specter she couldn't shake off. She had tried so hard to escape, to bury what had happened long ago. But in this moment, sealed off from the outside world, the past began to unravel faster than she could grasp. The baby continued to squirm in her arms, but her attention shifted back to the phone. Adrenaline surged through her. She had to know who sent that message. Mustering her courage, she pressed the screen. The sender's number was blocked, offering no familiar comfort. Panic began to bubble within her as memories flickered like images from a haunted album. The grave mistake she thought she had left behind, the secret she kept hidden from everyone, even from herself, began to gnaw at the edges of her consciousness. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows and echoing her turmoil. She returned her gaze to her baby, this innocent life that only knew warmth and love. But even that felt tainted now, overshadowed by the chilling dread creeping in. She didn't want to share this world with the truth that awaited her. Then the phone buzzed again, a harsh interruption that sent a jolt through her. Another message. She hesitated, throat dry and heart pounding, fingers trembling like leaves in the wind as she swiped it open. "Look outside. You should know the truth. They're coming." Her breath caught in her throat. Panic surged as she approached the window while clutching her baby gently with the other arm. Outside was nothing but a shroud of fog. Moments stretched into eternity as she peered into the depths of white, searching for a sign, a clue, something, anything, and suddenly, a shadow flickered within the fog. Her heart raced. Was it a trick of the light or a reflection of her fears? Cautiously, she stepped closer, aware that her instincts screamed at her to retreat. But the urgency of the unknown pulled her forward, as if something ethereal was drawing her into the night. "Who is there?" she whispered, her voice trembling like the leaves. The fog shifted around a figure, indistinct yet hauntingly familiar. All the warmth that filled her moments earlier drained away, leaving an icy grip in her gut as she squinted to make sense of the outline before her. The shape grew more defined with every breath, and dread coiled tightly around her chest, squeezing painfully. Just then, the phone buzzed once more, vibrating violently as if it too urged her to look away. She never felt so torn between the life she had just created and the reflection of her past standing on the doorstep of her present. This was her moment of truth, but what she didn't know was that in the lingering fog, others were watching too, and they had their own secrets waiting to spill. With her heart pounding and sweat trickling down her spine, she backed away from the window and steadied her shaking hands, anxiety thrumming beneath her skin. She had to uncover the truth before whatever was hidden in the fog found its way in. Time was ticking, and the answers she longed for were no longer just a text away. Would she find courage in the grotesque twist of her fate? The clock was ticking and the fog was thickening. Who would cross the threshold of her truth? The figure in the fog loomed closer, its edges sharpening into a shape that sent a wave of recognition crashing over Amanda. She recoiled, clutching her baby, her heart hammering as she caught her breath. Could it really be? "Stay back!" she shouted, terror flooding her voice, wrapping her baby tighter against her chest. The fog parted, revealing dark, familiar eyes that locked onto hers. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears, each thump drowning out the wailing of the baby, their only connection to the world outside. "Amanda," the voice called, dripping with an unsettling familiarity that sent chills racing down her spine. "It's time to face what you've buried." Everything around her fell silent, even the wind seemed to pause, as if both nature and time held their breath, anticipating the next move. She wanted to run, to flee, but her feet were glued to the floor, rooted in a mix of fear and shock. "What do you want? What are you doing here?" Her voice shook, holding back a torrent of memories. The baby squirmed in her arms, sensing the tension, its innocence contrasting sharply with the darkness creeping into her heart. "You're in danger, Amanda. They're coming for you and the truth." Each word was like a knife to her chest, cutting deeper into her protective layers. The baby wailed again, drawing Amanda's attention momentarily away from the figure, her instincts as a mother igniting. "Shoo, it's okay," she murmured, but terror surged back as her gaze snapped back outside. The fog shifted and thickened, morphing into serpentine shapes that seemed to slither closer to her. "Who are they? What truth?" Her words felt weak, swallowed by the night that pressed in around her. As if sensing her accusation, the figure hesitated, then took a slow step closer, moving cautiously like a trapdoor slowly opening. "You know more than you think. You've always known. All those years running they'll find you." Amanda's throat tightened. The walls of the room felt like they were closing in. "I didn't want it to end this way. I thought I could start over." "Starting over requires understanding who you truly are. You can't hide from the past forever." The voice was a whisper now, almost gentle, yet no less chilling. The baby squirmed again, their cries clawing away at the shadows of the truth waiting to unfold. In that moment, the familiar flick of doubt flared like a match in the darkness. Amanda's chest tightened as she sensed a shadow within herself. Doubts she had buried deep flared to life with a vengeance. Just then, another message pinged from her phone, the sharp sound slicing through the thick tension. Her heart raced as she grabbed the device, hands trembling. "They're already inside. Protect her at all costs." "Who is this?" she cried into the night, scanning the fog for answers. The figure continued to watch, the sorrow in its eyes cutting deeper than any knife. "If you don't know, they will come for everything you love. You need to make a choice." Amanda's mind reeled. Choice? What choice was there? She had made a choice to escape, to leave it all behind, but now she felt the weight of her past pushing down harder than ever. As the fog began to swirl more violently, she felt a primal urge to protect her child, to shield them from whatever horrors lay ahead. "Don't you dare come any closer," she warned, finding a semblance of strength within her voice. With every breath, the night thickened, and as the shadows grew bolder, she realized the truth wouldn't stay buried for long. A decision loomed on the horizon, and she had to make it before the fog swallowed them whole. But what price would she pay for the truth? The door creaked somewhere behind her, an ominous reminder that time was no longer her ally. The moment teetered on the brink of revelation, and somewhere in the depths of the fog, she could hear a chilling whisper. It's time for you to choose. The room shook with a sudden gust of wind, rattling the windows and stealing Amanda's breath away. Panic surged within her, igniting the fight-or-flight response that had been simmering since the moment she stepped back into this suffocating nightmare. Get away from the door! She screamed at the figure, now almost upon her, the details of its face hidden by shadows. She felt the baby shift slightly, a reminder of the life she needed to protect. How could she make any choice when it felt like she was being crushed under the weight of the past? Choose Amanda. The figure shouted, urgency coating its voice. You can't ignore the past or it will drag you down. Each word sliced through her like ice, stirring long-buried scars. Guilt coiled tightly around her heart. As if sensing her hesitation, the fog thickened, swirling ominously outside, its whispers taunting her, daring her to make a move. The walls of the room seemed to pulse, the air thickened with dread. I can't. What do you want from me? She shouted, desperation clawing at her throat, tears beginning to form. Her hands shook, the baby wriggling gently against her chest as if sensing the storm within. A truth, a pact, an understanding. The figure stepped closer, its face finally emerging from the shadows. It was someone she hadn't seen in years, yet the familiarity was unmistakable. Anger and sorrow mingled in a tempest inside her, twisting as she fought to shield her baby from the darkness of the revelation. Why now? She spat, her voice hard but shaking. Why did you come back? You left me. Because you need me. There was a strange gravity to the figure's voice, a haunting lilt that pulled Amanda in. You might think you're alone, but you are not. You've kept your past tight to your chest, but it's time to let it explode. Before she could process the words, she felt a sudden chill brush against her forehead, icy and intimate. The whispers in the fog intensified, swirling into a cacophony, snatches of tense voices chanting her name, echoing her greatest fears. Mommy, the baby's voice broke through the chaos, and Amanda's heart clenched tighter. She realized the stark truth. Every moment she lingered in indecision put her child in danger. The weight of the world had shifted the instant she became a mother. Look inside yourself, Amanda, the figure urged, stepping even closer. The darkness in their eyes seemed to reach out, almost grabbing hold of her soul. What do you truly want? Freedom? Or the chains of your past? A flash of images erupted in her mind. Her childhood, the bruises she had fought against, the late-night screams that followed her into adulthood. They felt closer now, like ghosts encircled by the fog. Memories she'd tried so hard to forget came crashing down. And with them, pieces of guilt and shame she thought she had obliterated. No, Amanda shook her head, desperate to break the cycle. Yet the figure hadn't cast her aside. It remained firm, and with a twisted compassion it said, you have to confront them. They're waiting. Then her phone buzzed again, jolting her back to the present. Get out now. They're at the door. Another message. The urgency clashed violently with the whispers of her memories, the threat close enough to seep through the cracks in her stability. Who? She demanded, bewildered and angry, desperately glancing between the figure and the door. Who's at the door? What do they want? You know the answer, it whispered back, its tone almost soothing, yet laced with foreboding. And in asking, you're delaying your fate in that instant. The door rattled with violent force, sending her sprawling backward. The baby erupted into desperate cries as Amanda scrambled to her feet, horror washing over her. Time had run out, and she had to find her answer before it was too late. Make a choice, Amanda. Before they take everything from you, the figure urged as cold splinters of dread lanced her heart. The door burst open and shadows poured in, swirling with a life of their own, surrounding her and the cries of her baby. This wasn't merely her past knocking, this was a reckoning. Caught between the echoes of her haunted past and the terrifying present, Amanda felt the ground tremble beneath her feet. And in that moment, as the darkness encroached, she understood. The truth could either shatter or save everything she loved. But the ultimate question remained, would she have the courage to face it? The shadows loomed, inching closer, thick with suffocating dread. Amanda's heart raced as the cries of her baby pierced the heavy silence. Panic thickened in her throat, and the figure loomed like a storm cloud, an impending disaster that could tear her apart. "Stop. Just stop," she pleaded, voice raw with fear. "I can't do this, I can't. Do you not see?" The figure's voice dropped an octave, resonating in her bones. "You have no choice. Not any longer." The walls of her childhood home seemed to close in, the familiar peeling wallpaper bubbling and warping. Memories spiraled out of control. Flickering images of laughter twisted into figures of mockery. Her face flushed with anger and helplessness. "Get away from me." She stumbled back, instinctively shielding her baby against the chaos. The room felt alive, as if it had a pulse, and that pulse beat in sync with the chaos of her memories. With a tremor in her hand, Amanda reached for her phone. The screen lit up in defiance, a sliver of light in the engulfing darkness. She lifted it, staring at the blood-red notifications. "Help me," she typed before hesitating. The figure watched her intently, its presence electrifying the air. "Time is slipping through your fingers, Amanda," it said softly, almost coaxingly, a predator enticing its prey. "What will you do? Reach out for rescue or face your truth?" She could almost taste the bile rising in her throat. Her fingers trembled, and just as she was about to hit send, the phone slipped from her grasp, clattering on the floor with a sharp crack. The figure leaned in, its face illuminated by a sudden flash of lightning, revealing eyes that burned with an ancient knowing. "Who are you?" she gasped, breath coming in ragged bursts. "Someone you thought you buried deep," it replied, the words echoing with each beat of her heart. "But the past doesn't die. It festers and rises just like you. Just like this moment." The shadows surged forward, clinging to her like wet fog, and for a brief, chilling second, she saw her own reflection in their depths, vulnerable, afraid, and trapped in a web of her own making. The walls closed tighter as the figure drew closer, almost whispering, "What's the worst that can happen, Amanda? Face your fears, let the truth settle. Or remain chained to what's easy but false." Those words echoed through her mind, intermingling with the frantic cries of her child. She had to choose. As the baby cried louder, she felt the fury and desperation rise within her own chest. Everything she had held back came flooding back: abuse, betrayal, everything she had locked away. But what would happen if she let it all spill out? Would the truth break her more than the lies ever could? "Do it," the figure urged, hands reaching out. "Break the silence. Own your pain. Show them who you really are." With a resounding crack, that final barrier shattered. Amanda inhaled deeply, tasting the weight of her own voice. "I am not afraid." The sheer sound of her declaration pierced the fog, pushing back against the shadows. They writhed in revolt, and for a moment, she saw a path the way through the chaos, but just then, the door frame split under the pressure of unseen forces, and the wind howled through the opening, scattering papers into the air. Glancing toward the doorway, Amanda's heart dropped as she saw familiar figures standing in the threshold, outlines barely illuminated by the storm outside. "Let us in," a voice called, pleading, distorted with dread. "You don't have to fight alone. Your choice, Amanda," the figure whispered, almost loving. "Do you face them or do you turn away?" As thunder cracked above her, shaking the very ground she stood on, Amanda was caught in that moment, frozen between two worlds, the tempest of her past lingering close. The room held its breath, and so did she. Everything boiled down to this instant, this razor-thin choice. Would she turn back, taking the easy road, or would she step forward into the blinding truth? But seconds ticked away, and uncertainty gnawed at her, a silent scream begging for resolution. And little did she know the revelation that awaited her on the other side could change everything. The air crackled with tension, suffocating and electric. Amanda stood, heart pounding, faced with a choice that felt like it could shatter her very existence. The shadows whispered, sinister promises mixing with her own desperate thoughts. Outside, the storm raged on, echoing the turmoil thrumming inside her. The familiar figures in the doorway shifted, their faces twisted in concern, blurring at the edges like memories she wished she could forget. The one voice rang out again, "Amanda, you're not alone. Please just let us in." As she stared into the emerging eyes of those who had once meant everything, doubt clawed at her gut. She had buried them beneath layers of hurt and betrayal. Yet, didn't their presence mean they still cared? Let them in, the figure cooed, its voice soothing yet laced with threat. Face them. Show them what you truly are. Or push them away and drown in your own despair. Fear slithered up her spine, and the cries of her baby intensified, each note more haunting than the last. You don't know what they've done to me. She erupted, a crescendo of anguish. You don't know what you can do, the figure countered, stepping closer, its breath a chill against her cheeks. What if they're here to heal? What if they're the reason you survived? A jagged breath tore from her throat. The image of her past played like a broken record, the smiles that masked deceit, the love that twisted into manipulation. But the strength she felt before, the power of her own voice, stirred within her once again. Memories surged, spilling out like rain from a broken dam. Before her stood her mother, weary yet hopeful, and her sister, eyes full of vulnerability. Didn't they deserve a chance to make amends? Open the door, Amanda, her sister urged. Let us help you. We can build something new together. But what if the new was just another facade? In that moment of hesitation, the walls shifted, pulsating like a living entity, and the figure joined them, the shadow a malignant stain against the warmth of her family. You have secrets, Amanda. They'll never truly understand. They can't bear the weight of your truth. Thunder cracked, resonating deep in her bones, shaking her resolve. There was a war raging inside her. The crushing fear of rejection collided with the flicker of hope. They were here, imploring her to believe in them and maybe herself. The splintered memories clawed at her conscience. Amanda leaned forward, weighing her choices like stones in her heart. She could reject the past or embrace a new reality. The creatures of shadow tightened their grip, as if sensing her faltering. No, don't do it, she whispered to herself. Suddenly, through the cacophony of thunder and her baby's cries, Amanda thought of her child. I will protect you no matter the cost. It's time to fight. With a sudden burst of determination, she stepped toward the door. I'm ready. I will face them. But just as she reached for the handle, the air thickened, an unseen barrier slammed against her. The world twisted and the familiar faces began to swirl into grotesque shapes. A dark transformation she never expected. What is happening? Panic clawed up her throat. The figure laughed softly, a sound like glass shattering. You think you can just walk away from your past? You will face the truth, Amanda? Or lose everything. Time froze. Everything crashed to a stillness, then erupted into chaos. As she staggered back, she felt the world tilt beneath her. Shadows surged, entwining her in their bitter embrace, and the figures in the doorway now seemed to scream, twisted in agony. What will you choose? The truth? Or the void? As she clamped her hands over her mouth, the walls around her began to dissolve, the shadows pulsing with uncertainty and rage. In the heart of the storm, something primal clawed its way to the surface, and Amanda realized she had yet to discover her true power. But was she ready to unleash it? The answer lingered like a spark, waiting for the moment to ignite. Would she find the courage to confront the storm? Or would the shadows swallow her whole? The ground shook once more, a tremor of potential lurking in the air, and then she felt it, the first thrum of truth trying to break free. The storm howled outside, a fierce reminder of the tempest within. Amanda stood on the precipice of chaos, the shadows closing in, dark and oppressive, wrapping around her like an unwanted cloak. Her heart raced as she battled the gut-wrenching sense of betrayal and a flickering ember of hope. With a shuddering breath, she tore her gaze from the grotesque shapes of her family fading into the darkness. The echo of long-buried memories flooded her mind. Laughter that turned to accusations, promises that became weapons. But deeper still, a surge of raw power bubbled beneath her insecurities. It was there, simmering, waiting for her to acknowledge it. Face the truth, Amanda, the figure hissed, its voice curling in her ears like smoke. All you have to do is surrender. Let the shadows take you. No, she shouted into the void, each word a lifeline thrown into the tempest. You don't own me. I will not be a prisoner of my past any longer. In response, the shadows pulsed violently, a furious wave crashing against her in retaliation. But she stood firm, feeling the weight of her child's cries like a steel bar keeping her anchored. I will not be afraid. The declaration rang out louder than the thunder outside, and with it came a flicker of defiance. Suddenly, a blinding light burst forth from within her, illuminating the edges of darkness. It widened, wrapping around her, casting out the shadows that had claimed so much of her life. The world shifted again, and she felt the walls tremble, vibrating with the energy swirling within her. "Do you see?" The figure rasped, its face shadowed, frustration dripping from its tone. "You will only hurt yourself." "No, I will heal," she cried, and as those words escaped her lips, the light intensified, a warm glow spilling over her like a protective blanket. With a power that felt foreign yet familiar, Amanda lifted her hands. The shadows recoiled, screeching as she wielded the light like a weapon of truth. "You are not my reality, you are just a fragment of my fear." The world started to shift, the panicked expressions of her family twisting back into clarity, but still hovering just out of reach. They were calling to her, pleading for connection. "Come back to us, Amanda," her mother urged, her voice ageless yet worn. "Don't let this consume you. We want to help. We want to understand." Could they ever truly understand? The question loomed, a dark cloud drifting across her new horizon. Life had left her fractured. Would the pieces fit together again? Or would their understanding only pull her deeper into old wounds? "You need to decide," the figure shrieked, rage and pain blending into a monstrous tone. "Are you ready to forgive? To let your heart open again? Or will you break your own bond with reality just to get away?" Trembling, Amanda felt the chasm widen between her and those she had wanted to love again. The choice was spinning in front of her like a whirlwind. She was on the edge of something monumental, a pivotal moment where what she chose would define her future. The light pulsed within her, throbbing with the promise of hope, but it wasn't quite ready to overshadow the shadows. She needed more than just light. She needed to reach deep within and wield the truths that had waited too long to be acknowledged. Yet, as she clung to her flickering hope, a cold shiver slinked down her spine. Shadows whispered of a secret hidden, one that could change everything. What if she wasn't the only one with darkness lurking within? Just as the thought took root, a deep rumble echoed through the air, and the light flickered, threatening to dim. "Embrace it, Amanda. Embrace the truth. Or lose yourself in the dark." With a rush of adrenaline, she took a step forward towards the void, ready to confront whatever lay behind it. What truth lay waiting, and would she dare to face it? The moment Amanda stepped into the void, an overwhelming rush of memories washed over her, each one crashing like waves against her consciousness. Faces of those she loved mixed with the darkness, shifting in and out of her sight like mirages. Her heart raced as echoes of their voices pierced through the chaos, blending into a cacophony of past rejections and hidden truths. Just then, the figure surrounding her solidified, his features more discernible now. It was as if the darkness itself had morphed into a monstrous version of her father. "You think this is about your light? You think you can overcome what's inside you by refusing it?" he challenged, each word dripping with disdain. The shadows writhed in response, creating a whirlwind of uncertainty around Amanda. "No, I refuse to believe that," she shouted, gripping her arms around herself as if trying to hold on to her sanity, her purpose. "You are not the truth. You're just fear dressed in familiar faces." As she stood her ground, the tempest grew louder. Thunder rumbled with the fury of 1,000 storms, each boom vibrating deep within her. The shadows danced dangerously close, yet the light within her surged, pushing them back. It felt like a delicate dance, a surge of strength pulling her forward. Yet she knew the price of her defiance. "What if you find something you can't bear to face?" The figure spat, twisting its mouth into a grin she loathed. It was a dark reflection of what had once been her father, kind eyes now obscured by bitterness. In that moment, Amanda felt the weight of betrayal all over again, the memories quickening her breath. She thought of her child, the one person who would forever be the key to her strength. "I'll face whatever it is. I owe it to them." Suddenly, the darkness exploded, revealing glimpses of moments long forgotten. Family gatherings haunted by argument, birthdays overshadowed by neglect, a childhood stolen by an inability to forgive. Each flash burned into her mind, threatening to pull her back in. But alongside those dark memories came the lighter ones: sweet laughter, playful afternoons, moments of love that lingered beneath the debris of trauma. "I will remember it all," she declared, standing tall with newfound defiance. "For every shadow I will bring a light. I will own my story." The figure shrieked, the sound raw and full of despair. It staggered back, unraveling like smoke before an open flame. Then prepare yourself, Amanda. Your reality cannot protect you from what's lurking below. It will consume you. As the figure dissolved, Amanda realized that the shadows were no longer just dark remnants of her past. They had morphed into something else. A deep, resonant truth that lay buried within her. Something she had hidden away, afraid of the pain it would expose. Suddenly, the air shifted around her, its charged energy thrumming with potential and danger. A single thought ignited in her mind, one that was both frightening and liberating. She needed to embrace what lay within the depths, the dark truth that awaited her acknowledgement. Amanda? Her mother's voice echoed once again. More real, more vivid. It's time to come back. We'll fight for you. But what would she return to? A fragile bond that could shatter? Or a path towards healing, painful yet necessary? Taking a deep breath, Amanda stared into the remnants of shadows, feeling that profound truth surround her, ready to entwine with the light inside. This time, she stepped forward, fully committed. In that crucial moment, she was ready to confront the heart of her darkness. Would it free her or bury her deeper? The truth awaited her, and she was on the edge of uncovering it. The darkness enveloped Amanda, but now it felt different, charged with a weird energy buzzing around her like a swarm of bees. She inhaled deeply, trying to grasp that whisper of truth waiting to be unearthed. In the deep shadows, a mist began to rise, twisting and spiraling around her feet. Images flickered in and out here. A terrified child trapped in her own room. There, a teenager cowering under the weight of impossible expectations. They were fragments of herself, pieces of the puzzle she had long since abandoned. "You're ready to face everything?" whispered a voice, neither entirely familiar nor entirely strange, echoing in the void. It was smooth, yet undeniably sinister, making her pulse race. It wasn't the darkness of her father's visage. It was something more sinister, something deeper. "I have to," she replied, her voice steadier than her heart felt. "And more than all of this." With that declaration, the shadows thickened around her, their edges fraying like a worn tapestry. The air grew colder, biting against her skin. From the corners of her vision, writhing figures began to take shape, faces she had avoided thinking about, emotions she had buried deep. Amanda clenched her fists. "No, I'm not afraid of you." But as she spoke, tendrils of darkness reached for her, brushing against her mind, trying to slip into the cracks of her defenses. Memories flooded in. The day she lost her child, the bitter argument with her mother when she had needed her most, the shame that curled coldly in her stomach when she looked in the mirror. "No more, no more," she cried, shaking her head vigorously, trying to dispel the fog. Yet the shadows coiled tighter, their whispers rising and weaving into a chilling crescendo, echoing her self-doubt. "Will you run again, Amanda? Will you pretend it didn't happen? That you didn't lose them? Stop it." She slammed her eyes shut, bracing for an onslaught. Images of her child, sweet and innocent, collided fiercely with the torment she had tried to forget. In that moment, a light flickered within her, a tiny spark igniting against the darkness that surrounded her. Cautiously, she opened her eyes again. The shadows had receded just enough for her to breathe, just enough for her to grasp the truth she'd long hidden away. Instead of fighting, she took a step forward. "You won't control me anymore. I will confront you." The shadows hesitated and then seemed to crumble, revealing a path that led deeper into the unknown, pulsating with an eerie bioluminescence. Curiosity tangled with fear as Amanda crossed the threshold, knowing she was now entering a realm she had avoided for far too long. The path twisted like a serpent through thick fog, each step taking her further away from the comfort of her old life. Unfamiliar sounds tugged at her consciousness, a murmur of voices rising and falling like waves lapping against the shore. "Amanda?" Her heart stuttered at the question floating through the mists. That voice was unmistakable, her mother's. The warmth and vulnerability in it wrapped around her like a soft blanket, coaxing her deeper into the light. "Where are you?" Amanda's voice trembled, swallowed by the fog. "The truth is here, but it's not easy to uncover." Her mother's voice echoed faintly, filled with a vulnerability that Amanda hadn't recognized before. "You need to make a choice, sweetheart." "What choice?" Amanda pressed, desperate for clarity. "Will you face what's buried, or will you turn back?" The path ahead shimmered, the shadows retreating, beckoning her into the blurred memories. A sudden flash of clarity washed over her. What if confronting this truth was what she needed to heal? As Amanda hesitated on the brink of something monumental, the shadows whispered something chilling, a truth she had never anticipated. The answer you seek may take everything from you, but what if you don't have the choice? The edges of reality began to blur, and she felt the ground beneath her pulse with energy, urging her forward into that darkness waiting to be lit. As she chased after her mother's voice, a single question echoed through the chambers of her mind. Could she bear the consequences of the truth lurking behind that threshold? The answer was out there, deeper than she'd ever dared to go. Amanda felt the cold tendrils of shadows wrap tightly around her as she stepped deeper into the mists, pulling her toward the heart of her uncertainty. Panic fluttered in her chest, but she tightened her grip around her baby, grounding herself in the reality of motherhood. The infant's warmth reminded her of love's fierce strength that could pierce through any fear. Her mother's voice swirled around her, echoing through the fog. You have the power to break free, Amanda. Don't let the past define you. Doubt flared for a moment. Could she really face everything that haunted her? But the wail of her baby cut through her hesitation. This was about more than her. It was about the future she wanted to build for her child. With each breath, she felt the flicker of her strength igniting, pushing her further into the unknown. As the fog began to thin, familiar images flickered before her eyes. Memories she had locked away emerged: an old photograph, her youth, the laughter that had once filled her home, but also the shadows that crept in, twisting love into something unrecognizable. Mom, she called into the ether, uncertainty gnawing at her. Yes, Amanda, her mother's voice emerged again, warm yet distant. I don't want to be afraid anymore, Amanda declared, her voice steadying. She felt the truth shift in her gut like a stone finally rolling free. Whatever it is, I'm ready. With that declaration, shadows surged, trying to pull her back, but she stood firm. The warmth of love and the sharpness of pain intertwined in her heart, and suddenly, she felt a power brewing from deep within, a primal force ready to burst forth. Face it, Amanda. Embrace what's hidden. The figure from before hissed, its voice wrapping like chains around her. Torn between fear and the instinct to protect her child, she pressed on, pushing aside the memories that sought to drown her in sorrow. They would no longer control her. Leave my child out of this, she screamed at the shadows, their howls echoing back anger and despair. But she refused to yield. You don't own me anymore. Light erupted from her heart, flooding the path ahead, illuminating the fog. Stunned, the shadows hissed, recoiling from the brilliant glow emanating from within her. Stay back, she warned, taking a step forward, her courage growing as if fueled by the very essence of motherhood. One final time, she thought of everything they had taken from her. She had been battered and broken, but she was not left empty. Fueled by fierce love and determination, she screamed into the void, I am Amanda. I am here. I choose to heal. The air shimmered with her declaration, and the shadows writhed violently, twisting in protest. The fog spiraled, churning with a chaotic energy, and yet she stood resolute. Slowly, the figures of her family began to materialize from the mist, their faces softer, clearer. No longer twisted, they looked at her with compassion and love, a glimmer of understanding flickering in their eyes. Forgive us, Amanda, her mother's voice was barely a whisper. We were all broken, but we can rebuild. Together. A lump formed in Amanda's throat as memories collided, a lifetime of hurt, and the remnants of love etched in fragile moments. The shadows fell away, pieces of forgiveness coursing through her veins. She felt the shackles of her past break, tumbling down like ancient walls collapsing under their own weight. Okay, she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Forgive you. I forgive myself. In that instant, the fog burst apart, exploding into harmless wisps of light. The shadows scattered, replaced by a dazzling glow that surrounded Amanda and her baby. Chilled by cold internal storms, she suddenly felt warmth envelop her. For the first time in years, there was clarity. She could breathe. I'm not alone anymore. The words came as a breath of fresh air, a declaration of freedom. As the mists faded and reality set in, Amanda stepped forward again, hand outstretched to her family. There were no more shadows, only the light of acceptance and love, grounding her in this moment. The weight she had carried lifted, and a sense of hope washed over her. Together they moved forward into the light, her family surrounding her, singing an anthem of forgiveness and resilience. The journey ahead would be difficult, but she was ready to face it, stronger than ever. As they stepped into the dawn, Amanda cradled her baby close, knowing she would fight fiercely for their future, one free from the shadows of the past. Love would guide her on this path, illuminating every twist and turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about the ending. This is your moment to shine. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.